What is up, everybody? In today's insane video, I'm going to be kicking off a new series on my YouTube channel because I'm completely out of ideas for everything else. This series I'm going to call I Was There. This is going to discuss events from the past that I personally witnessed myself because I'm like 16 years old-ish, which means I'm old enough to remember quite the few significant events. Now, before I get into this, I would like to point out that the name of this series, I Was There, is probably not completely original. I think I heard it on some documentary at some point, but I don't remember exactly where I heard it. So, if the I Was There thing isn't completely original, that's why. Now, this series might cover a vague array of topics. For example, I might be talking about trends that got really popular and then disappeared. I also might be talking about technologies that might be still around today, but were really trendy at one time, or I remember when it first came out. Or I might be talking about actual historical events that actually happened, but that's going to be a pretty small thing because most of those are a bit too controversial. Now, this video is going to discuss 3 different trends. The reason I'm putting 3 into one video is all of these happened around the same time and were pretty similar to each other. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's start talking about the actual topic of this video. So, the 3 things I'm going to be covering in this video are hoverboards, those fidget spinners and cubes, and those water bottle flips people were trying to do for like a hot minute. So, let's just start with the first one, hoverboards. Now, when you hear me say hoverboard, you might be thinking of that like one hoverboard from Back to the Future. However, I'm not talking about the hoverboard from Back to the Future. I'm talking about those poorly built Chinese hoverboards that were like a platform with 2 sides and it had 2 electric wheels. Now, these things were the trendiest product a few years ago. However, I don't know why they had a lot of hype around them. Because they weren't super practical. Because they weren't really faster than walking or more reliable than walking. Basically, walking is a better option than using a hoverboard. So I don't know why they were so popular. Also, another weird thing that came out with these hoverboards is there was like this aftermarket cart that like attached to a hoverboard and had like 2 levers. And this cart thing had like a plastic seat and like 2 levers. And on the front there was just 1 caster wheel. And on the back there was where you would attach one of those hoverboards to it. And the handles would manipulate the foot pads on the hoverboard and would make some sort of DIY electric cart contraption. And I remember both the hoverboards and this DIY electric cart thing that went with them were all over YouTube during this trend. Now, if y'all actually remember the whole hoverboard thing, y'all probably don't remember the cart or the actual hoverboard. Y'all are probably thinking of the massive elephant in the room at this point. The fact that these hoverboards had a tendency to spontaneously combust. Now, the whole hoverboard spontaneously combusting thing is probably the only reason anyone actually remembers these hoverboards. However, these don't really deserve the reputation they have for spontaneously combusting. Because at the time these came out, there were millions of them being sold. And less than a half a dozen of them actually caught fire. So I have no idea why everybody associates these hoverboards with spontaneously combusting, because it happened less, because it only happened a few times. But I think the news picked up on all of this and made everybody super scared of these hoverboards. And that's why that trend ended. So, with the whole hoverboard thing out of the way, let's get into the next and slightly less flammable trend of fidget spinners and fidget cubes and fidget devices in general. Now, if you don't know what a fidget spinner or fidget cube is, they were essentially, the fidget spinners were like a three-pointed plastic thing with a skateboard bearing in the middle and two plastic pads. You would hold on to the centerpiece and you could spin the fidget spinner. And fidget cubes, which were a lot less popular, but I have one right here. And a fidget cube was essentially just a bunch of buttons and wheels and switches and this thing and this thing and these things and this hole, and it's made out of this like soft touch rubber material. These were also pretty popular, but nowhere near as popular as the fidget spinners. Now, you might be wondering why these fidget products existed, because they seem really weird. Well, I think they were originally created for like people with ADHD or something, and it was supposed to help them concentrate. However, I have no idea why doing this would help you concentrate, and it didn't actually work. However, it became really trendy either way. Now, this fidget spinner and fidget device craze was actually insane. Literally 75% of the videos on YouTube that got into your recommended at the time were almost always about fidget spinners or fidget cubes. I remember these videos were everywhere. And they were trying to do so many different things in turning everything that had to do with a fidget device into content. Like this trend was insane. I remember the hype was so real. Like, I remember being so hyped up about these fidget spinners that we had to go to a bunch of different stores to find them. Like, we went to Walmart, but the Walmart got sold out of them in like 3 seconds. So then we found some sketchy vape shop, and they had fidget spinners for some reason, and they were like $60. Like, the hype was insane. Also, I remember watching one specific YouTube video about fidget spinners that I think was one of the videos that actually kicked off this trend. And it was this guy showing off this fidget spinner. I don't remember the exact details. And the next video this guy made was him going to a 7-Eleven, because that 7-Eleven used the thumbnail from his first video on the window as advertisement for the 7-Eleven having fidget spinners. And what this guy did is he went to like UPS and printed like 100 pages of this one thumbnail and went to this 7-Eleven and taped the 100 pages on the window next to the first page that the 7-Eleven was using to advertise this. Like, the hype was just insane. And I remember this video got like 50 million views. It was like insane. Now, another thing I remember from this fidget spinner craze is, if y'all don't know, my dad is like some sort of like synergy agile coach thing. And he occasionally will do seminars. And I remember during this fidget spinner craze, we went to a store, some like pawn shop drift store, and we bought like 50 fidget spinners. And he gave them away at his seminar, and it created a bunch of hype. Like, everybody there was excited. I mean, I wasn't personally there for this, but I heard that story secondhand from my dad. Now, another thing about these fidgeting devices and fidget spinners is as they started to die down in popularity, and even as they completely disappeared, the fidget spinners started showing up in every dollar store and $1.99 store and bargain store ever. Like, I remember as the craze was ending, and even as recently as 1 or 2 years ago, you could find these fidget spinners just hanging out in every dollar store and everywhere. I think what happened is the Chinese companies who made these fidget spinners made way too many of them, and then were trying to sell off them cheap, and that's how they ended up in all the questionable dollar stores. And I also remember that I actually had like 2 or 3 fidget spinners and a fidget cube at one point. I don't know where the fidget spinners went, but the fidget cube's right here. Now, let's jump into the other trend. Now, with the fidget spinners and those hoverboards out of the way, let's jump into the final trend, water bottle flips. Oh, water bottle flips were a big trend. However, they were less popular than the hoverboards or the fidget spinners. It was not as popular, and it didn't last for as long as the fidget spinner mania. But nevertheless, it was still a trend for a good amount of time. Now, basically what a water bottle flip was, if you haven't seen it before, is where somebody will take a bottle of water and take out most of the water except for about this much in the bottom. It would vary from this to about this. And then what you could do is have this on a table, and if you flipped it up in just the right motion, it would land back on the bottom, standing up. I don't know how the physics behind this worked, but it was a pretty neat trick to just be able to do that and have a water bottle flip on its bottom. Now, this was sort of a trend. I think there was like a Dude Perfect video about this and everything. But there was a lot less hype and it wasn't as interesting as fidget spinner hysteria or combustible hoverboards. So there's not really a lot to talk about here. So basically, that's the end of my video. Thanks for checking out my new series called I Was There. If you want to subscribe and possibly see more of these videos in the future, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. However, if you're not convinced on my channel yet, please click another one of my videos that our AI overlords say you will like. And with that out of the way, bye!